Hi, I'm Indra, and I'd like to welcome you to the Messy Middle Matters, where my friends and I explore all the twists, turns, and challenges that arise in the messy middle of work. So today we're talking about something that I think everyone has faced when plans don't go as planned and you need to pivot and change and evolve. And confession time. This is take 2 on this episode with my dear friend Nancy. So this is the first time that we've had someone with a Wikipedia page and first time we've had a New York Times bestseller. So so exciting. So Nancy, I will not do it justice. Can you tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Nancy Krulik. I'm probably best known for writing chapter book series for kids.
Yeah.
Some of you may know Katie Kazoo Switcheroo or George Brown Class Clown, Magic Bone, Princess Pulverizer. That's what I'm most known for.
Yeah.
But recently I have been doing something completely different and outside of publishing. And that's where I made my turn because the publishing industry has definitely had a downturn, at least in kids' books.
Yeah, it's your latest turn, but it's not your only turn that you've had in life.
Oh,
You start
no.
so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how you got into writing? Like you had a career before this. Like
Right.
or this
I
is
majored in investigative reporting at Temple University. I was the news editor of the Temple News, which
uh-huh.
has a rather large readership because it's a big college. And then I went into working at Scholastic for kids. I had never written for kids before. And I was the editor of magazines that were sort of fan based,
Mhm.
sort of interviewing stars that kids want to hear about. And then I started writing nonfiction books and I did biographies of celebrities. And, this was in a time where there wasn't a lot of internet access. So it was a lot more research, a lot of interviewing people. Even if you couldn't get to the stars, you had to interview people around them.
Mhm.
One of them was one of my bestsellers because it was on Leonardo DiCaprio and it came out the same week as Titanic.
Oh, I didn't know about that
It
one.
did not sink. It did not sink. And then somebody said to me, have you ever tried fiction? And fiction was great because I didn't have to check my quotes, right? I made them up. And so for a lot of years, I did all of the series that I told you about and more. And then chapter books weren't that great. And now I have made the move into animation.
So
So
I want everyone to understand the size of your tome of books that you have, right? Like it's your oeuvre. Did I use that word right?
mm,
Two- right?
that's the key word.
It's an SAT word. Yeah, 250 books. Over 250 books you've written.
Yeah. I mean,
Amazing.
some of them are very short and
But
some
it
of them
doesn't
are movie
matter.
novelizations, but they are all part of my, collections.
They
I
are, and
mean,
you've gone internationally touring on these books.
I
You've seen lots of countries on it. Like it's
have.
amazing.
I've seen countries. I've seen most of the 50 states. Yeah, I do a lot of talking to kids. I still do a lot of talking to kids. It's one of my favorite things to do, even though they ask the same questions all the time. How old are you? How much do you make? I personally like the ones that say, um, did you come here in a helicopter or a limousine? Like,
Oh,
no,
that's
I'm sorry.
adorable.
Yeah.
Oh
They
my
have a
God.
very skewed version of what the royalty system is.
Oh my goodness. Well, and somebody who's had so much success, like we've all seen it, or maybe we've lived it ourselves. You get so stuck in your work being your identity, and having that one thing as
Right.
like this is what I do, and having having the ability to be able to recognize that it's time to pivot is one thing, and then actually being able to pivot into something else is a whole nother.
Right.
So I know a little bit about this story, but like the story of like how did you wind up in your latest chapter of animation, right? Like and this whole thing.
Right. I had done some television work. I had done a series in the 90s called Eureka's Castle.
Yeah.
But I hadn't done any television in a very long time. And I got a phone call that somebody wanted to create a cartoon show around my series, Princess Pulverizer. And at the time, it was a big studio. Not so much a studio as like a house, I guess they
Sure.
call it. And what they wanted to do was a shopping agreement, which meant if they sold it, I got to be one of the executive producers, and I could work on the scripts, and I could do all this. But if they didn't sell it, I didn't get anything. And I thought, you know what? I know it's going to be a lot of extra work, because at the time I was writing a series called The Great Mathemachicken, and those were books, and I had to get those done as well. But I thought, this could pay off. And so we started, and I learned a lot. I learned like terminology that I didn't know. I learned how things are sold to big studios. I learned how to write an animation script, which is very different because you have a lot more freedom than when you're working with puppets, which is what Eureka's Castle was.
Oh, like logistically, they can do something altogether different. Like
Right. Anything you want in animation.
they're not tethered to the ground.
Right. And what happened was the strike. And I am in the Writers Guild, so I couldn't write at that point. And they didn't want to because we were supporting the actors. We were supporting the writers. However, what happened afterwards was that the major studios stopped taking meetings on cartoon shows for this age group, which was like 5 to 11-year-olds. And the house that I was working with, which was a major house, went out of business. So that was kind of the end. However, one of the producers, Emmy Award winner David Levin, was the one who had found the Princess Pulverizer books. And he called me one day and he said, why don't we try to do a series by ourselves? Let's do an indie. And that's what we're working on. And so even though I didn't make any money on that series and I did a lot of work, the reality is, excuse me one second. Somebody wants to come up. And this is my co-writer, Scooby.
I love Scooby.
Is this okay?
Yeah, totally fine.
Okay. So at that point, I had the knowledge and I had the opportunity. And David and I are working on a series called Monsters Aren't Real. And it will be originating on YouTube. It's doing extremely well, even though we are only in production. We have been putting out little pieces and little teasers, and we have a lot of subscribers ready for the series to go.
Yeah.
We have been asked to do a stage show, even though the series itself is not up. So what happened was I didn't lose anything because I gained so much knowledge. I gained a great contact. So sometimes you just have to take a gamble. And it may turn out that it doesn't turn out the way you think it will. It turns out better.
I think it's something that you always say to me, is nothing is ever wasted.
That's right. Nothing is ever wasted.
It's in your quiver, it's in your arsenal, it's in your, toolbox or toolkit of like tricks and whatever, like resources that you can grab from. And I love
contacts. You make a lot of contacts.
Yeah.
And let's face it, in any industry, contacts are everything.
In this market especially, I think that that's true. Like we've had a few different episodes on networking and the value of it, and which is not comfortable for everyone, right? And but it's so necessary, especially in this job market. A lot of our listeners are more on the corporate side of things, but where it's the number of applicants that are available for any role at any level outpaces the number of roles that are out there. That's just the reality right now, which is where having people within your network and staying top of mind for people, the way that David thought, like, oh my goodness, Dave, it was just more of this. You couldn't have planned that. You couldn't have planned the way that came together.
His daughter liked the Princess Pulverizer books. That's how this started. You don't know what on your resume is going to lead you to the next thing. My first job at Scholastic, I had been the news editor of a paper in Philly. All right, it was a college paper, but it was a paper.
Yeah.
I got hired for this kids magazine because I had been a counselor at camp to the age group that the magazine was catering to. And I knew that group. You don't know. Do it all. Take a chance.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think is really important is that and I want to dig into this a little bit more, is that you are constantly learning and adding to your skill set. Like, because you and I've hung out regularly during this arc of your latest project, right? And so I understand everything that's been going on behind the scenes of the project, like all the different things. Like you've had to learn Kickstarter, you've learned social media in a different way than you've learned it.
Oh,
You've learned
absolutely.
so many different pieces of the puzzle.
Merchandise.
Merch.
I have never written a stage show before. It's very different. It's
Yeah.
certainly different than animation. These are all new skills and they're scary. I'm not going to tell you it's not scary. I'm not going to tell you that, I'm not often,
Yeah.
and I jump in and I have a partner who has never done it either. But
Yeah.
between us, we have been able to figure out so much and had an opportunity to create something from the ground up.
Yeah. So, when there are those moments of fear, frustration, whatever, like the recovery, like you're very resilient. How have you built up that resiliency muscle? Or do you have any sort of stories around that or not? You've always got some story
Yeah,
because you're a writer after all.
I have a lot of
A
stories.
punny, funny story. I've got my Words Matter mug because I'm talking to you.
Well, I used to say that just putting my kids' tuition bill on the wall in front of me was motivation to write.
Yeah.
But then they graduated and I had to find new motivation. For me, I think I love what I do and I'm only good at one thing, and that's writing. And so I have to find other ways that are appropriate to the time. Also, a writer is who I am.
Yeah.
I know that for a lot of people, a job is just a job. And I don't know if it's because I'm in the arts or if it's because it's a passion or because it's just a lot of fun. But I have to find ways to write. And I also have to find ways to eat. And so resiliency comes from necessity. I find that a lot of people who don't need the income, they put every block in front of them. The reality is most of us have to earn a living.
Yeah.
And so you bounce back. I've been kicked in the head. I can't tell you how many proposals I have worked months and months on, and then only to be told, oh, well, we're not buying chapter books now.
Yeah.
My first response is, well, you came to me. And then my second response is, but the market won't bear another series at this point. So you just have to say, okay, you kicked me in the head. Take one day to drown your sorrows.
Yeah.
Get up in the morning, go look for another way.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a talent you don't even know about. You really have to think about, what do I know? And how can I apply it to this new world? I mean, part of the problem for us was we couldn't afford an animator. David Levin, who is to me a genius, has learned how to use AI just for the animation. All the writing is done, by people.
Mhm.
All the voices are done by people. And in fact, we have a couple of celebrities coming up, which is very exciting for me. I wish I could tell you who they were. But
No, not yet. Not yet. We don't want to tease. We'll tease the fact that there's something.
Yeah, I'm just teasing. And David writes the lyrics to most of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to use AI for the animation. We have to use AI for most of the music. Because the reality is we can't afford it. AI can be very scary. And it is taking a lot of stuff away from people, but it's giving people opportunities also.
Yeah.
We could not afford to do what we are doing without it. Would we love to use real animators? Sure. We're not Netflix. We're two creatives. There are ways to use AI to help yourself. You have to grow with what is happening. That genie's not going back in the bottle. So you have to figure out how to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, it's making me think of my favorite a quote that I use as a touchstone in my life. To succeed, it's necessary to accept the world as it is and rise above it. Right?
That's
Michael Korda said that. I have to.
Perfect.
It's just because it is, and the reality of it is that is the world that we're in right now. We're right now in micro entrepreneurship. We're in a world of like the world is going into what's referred to as fractional labor, right? Which is much more, it could, in previous incarnations, it could be thought of as the gig economy. Like pure fractionals are going to scream at me for the way that I'm defining this, but but that's okay. But the reality is that this is the AI has shifted us. We can't stand on our principles. One of the things that I heard recently too is that women are less likely to adopt AI than men, because we're thinking about the ethical pieces of it. We're thinking about the ecological pieces of it. But the reality of it is that we are living in this world, and, we can't do injustice to ourselves. So like, that is amazing that you guys are doing this, right? And found a way through in this world to get the project, get as much of it as in humans, as you were saying before, as much of it as you can, but acknowledging the parts that it makes more sense to go the new path, right?
Right. It's a hybrid. Now, obviously, the stage show is not a hybrid. Because, thank goodness for theater. So far, we haven't figured out a way to
only ABBA's done that. That's the only one who's done it well.
I mean, I'm an adaptable person. You have to be an adaptable person.
Mm-hmm.
And you sometimes have to leave your ego at the door. I know for a fact that I can write chapter books. The fact that no one's buying them has nothing to do with me. The fact that your employer is now saying, well, we don't have that division anymore, you have to go somewhere else, has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. So let go of it. Take a look of what you've learned there and say, well, thank you. That was awesome. But I'm going to take it and show you what I can do with it in another direction. It's important to think positively.
Yeah.
Because that's the secret.
But it's making me, so you were saying that you identify as a writer. To me, that's not identifying with your job as much as owning your craft.
Yes.
Right? Like, this is your craft. The label that someone sticks on it might be different in different phases of your life, in different phases of technology, in different phases of business, whatever it might be. But that's your craft. And identifying with your craft, I think, is really healthy, because it's what you know, and you're figuring out, how do I bring this and how do I leverage this in this world, which is how you've been constantly able to reinvent yourself.
Right. My craft is writing. I am identified by other people as a chapter book writer.
Sure.
In my head, if you can write, you can write. You'll figure it out. I prefer to stay in the kids' realm for now, because I prefer children to adults. I just find them more interesting. And also, inside, I'm 10 years old. So I can relate,
Well, and you're very punny, too. You're funny and punny, which is really good for kids.
I write comedy. That's what I am. I'm a comedy writer for that 5 to 11-year-old group. But I mean, I have written for young adults, and I have written for little kids.
Yeah.
I have written picture books and board books, and I have written comic books, and I have written coloring books. I try to take everything I have and figure it out, but I also do a lot of research.
Yeah.
And before you make that pivot, now sometimes you're just forced into a pivot because you need the cash, right?
Of course.
Let's be honest, you need the insurance, whatever it is. But sometimes you can pick where you want to go, right? And so I did a lot of research into, is YouTube really the way to go with kids? And the truth is, today, most kids between the ages of 5 and 11 are getting their entertainment from YouTube. They're certainly not getting it from network television. There's no Saturday morning cartoons. Netflix doesn't have a lot of them. Neither does that Prime. I mean, they have, you can rerun SpongeBob just so many times, right?
Right.
This is something new. This is something different. And I did the research to make sure that's really where kids are watching. And it is where kids are watching. And I also did research on, can you make money on YouTube? And you can. But really, the money then comes from the merchandise. And then do we want to sell the rights to a publisher to write the novelizations like I used to write when I started my career?
Yeah.
We're going to get money from this stage show. The merch is a lot of money, especially, when you're doing it for kids' theater, because those kids will go up to the table and say, Mom,
I want my souvenir. I want my souvenir.
So I did a lot of research, and David did a lot of research. And so that's how, we're finding out. And now I'm getting calls from other people who might want to do animation. So it's taking off a career in a different path. But do your research if you really have the time. Some people don't have the time, and I acknowledge that. But if you have the time to figure out the best next step, take it. Do your research. Research the company. Research the job. Research how your skills match. And for women in particular, do not underestimate yourself. I have read all kinds of articles about how men will say, oh, yes, I have all the skills for this, even if maybe they don't. And women will say, I have all but one. I'm not going to apply.
Yeah.
Apply. Trust me that what you do have may be more important than what you think you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really, really important because, that's real. That hits home. That hits home hard. So any other, we've covered a lot of covered a lot of ground. And so, and this is really all about, there's so many pieces to this. Any other thoughts, anything that I missed that we should be highlighting for everyone? Any like nuggets from your past where you're like, ooh, I want to make sure the world knows about this. And then I'm going to ask you more details on your current project. So how people can find you.
I think we've covered pretty much everything. Do your research.
Yeah.
Remember that you have more skills than you think you do.
Yep.
Do not take a disappointment as a loss. Take everything you've learned and take it to the next step. Those are the big three, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God knows I pivoted and pivoted and pivoted. So,
yeah.
And I'm still standing, to quote Elton John.
You are. So I know that we're not allowed to talk about all the details, but how can people find and we'll add it into the show notes. Tell everyone more about Monsters Aren't Real, ? I don't know if it was 2 or 3 question marks. I can't remember.
3 question marks. Monsters Aren't Real is the new series. It got started when David called me and he said, do you have any ideas? And I said, it's funny. I had done a 4-book series called Ms. Frogbottom's Field Trips, which was about a teacher that took these field trips all over the world and kids confronted monsters from different countries and cultures. And I was waiting for the 5th book. I had an outline for the 5th book and they killed the series. Partially because the series came out during the pandemic. I couldn't go to schools. I couldn't tour. Yeah. It's not the same on Zoom, So when David called me, I said, I have this storyline about Frankenstein's Fear Park, which is an amusement park. I had it taking place in Germany because that was going to be the next. I said, well, what if we had 2 friends and one believes in monsters and one doesn't believe in monsters, and this town is suddenly taken over by monsters? So we had sort of like an X-Files for kids. And we have all this stuff going on, and we played off each other. David has a company called Brainstorm Inc., which is perfectly named. Because if I, brainstorm with myself, I'm usually one brain short. So this is better. And that's how it all started, was because I took something where it had been turned down or ended. Yeah. And I thought, how can I use what's sitting in my drawer? And then, of course, David took it one place further and I took it one place further. And so now we have all these crazy monsters. We have everything from a 2-headed shark to, a pizza creature to a mummy to Frankenstein's monster. I mean, we have some traditional monsters and we have some really weird monsters that nobody's heard of. And we're just having a lot of fun doing one episode after another. And then we talked about doing songs because we wanted to do something that made us different.
Yep.
So we sort of have a music video that will come after every episode.
And wait. Hold on, it's Bruce Springsteen and the Eek Street Band?
Yes, Bruce Springsteen and the Eek Street Band. So we have a lot of puns. David is also a punster. And I'm having a blast writing these scripts. I mean, I can't stop writing them. I'm already into season 2 and we haven't started season 1 on YouTube yet. So I am excited. if you go to Monsters Aren't Real Cartoon on YouTube, you will see what we're working on. You will be able to trace the steps of how an animated cartoon is made, because we started with the Kickstarter
Yeah.
and then we had some very short videos, and now we're starting to introduce characters, and we have some of the music videos. The scripts are being written. So, yeah, it's very exciting,
It's
and I'm
exciting.
learning so much. And you have to remember that life is about learning. When you stop learning, you may as well give up, and you
100%.
never know where stuff is going to go.
No. And
Can you
like,
tell I'm excited?
and what I love about it, besides, yes, I love seeing, some of my favorite things are watching the creative process grow, because we don't know, we always see the end result and but we don't see the journey along the way. What this has shown, whether it's, through, I'll add the links to YouTube, et cetera, so everyone else can take a look at it too. But you can see how the animation has improved. You can see how the audio gets overlaid. You can see all these different pieces of the puzzle. And as I've been watching, my favorite part of this is the fact that it reminds me of something that Sesame Street has done really well. It bridges the gap. It creates, the content is something that the kids will love, but the parents will be like, "Oh, that's funny too," right? Like,
Right.
again,
We
Boo
want this to be a
Springsteen and the Eek
family.
Street Band.
This
Yeah,
is a family experience, and that is
yeah,
the Sesame Street model. I mean, if you're going to take someone's model, take the best one, except that we're not really educating. I'm not big on that.
that's
I just want
okay.
kids to laugh, and I think kids need to laugh.
We don't
And
laugh enough. Yeah,
I agree. And I don't think parents laugh enough either. So this is something that parents can enjoy with their kids,
yeah,
and they can feel their kids are safe watching it, because we don't, we're not proselytizing, we're not politicizing. This is just fun.
it's
And there's
fun.
not enough. And so we are filling a void.
And well,
And also, don't forget, David and I are experienced. We've
yeah,
done this for years.
yeah,
So we know what makes kids laugh. We
yeah,
know, you know, what makes parents laugh, because we're parents, you know?
yeah. No, I love it. I'm just so excited because I know in the coming months, it's all slowly coming together.
Yeah, and have
And then,
patience. Have
well,
patience. I'm not very big on patience, and this is taking, to me, forever. But if you knew how long major studios take, because there's so many, cooks in the kitchen there, we are on a fast track in comparison.
yeah,
So, you keep watching, because I think you're
yeah,
going to have a lot of fun just watching us grow. I am, and I'm there. So,
it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Every week there's something new, at least behind the scenes, that I get a glimpse into, which is just a lot of fun. So, Nancy, I adore you. I
I,
adore you. And I know, and I am so grateful that you joined me on the podcast. I know this is your first podcast ever. So, yay.
Yahoo!
Uh,
It is my first podcast ever. So, and anyway, if anybody wants to, get in touch with me, they can get me through my website, which is realnancykrulik.com, which I named that way because some kid did a book report called nancykrulik.com and took it away from me. So I'm realnancykrulik.com.
Really?
Yeah, years and years ago. I think it's probably gone by now, but
But you're that famous, which I love,
well, yeah,
which I
okay.
love.
The books are famous. I can still walk down the street.
Okay. Well, Nancy, thank you for everything. I know that our listeners are going to get an awful lot out of this. You've given us just a glimpse into a world that most of us, I don't think, have access to. So thank you for that. And
Well,
thank you
it's
for
really no
sharing.
different. I mean, talent is talent. Whether
Yeah.
your talent leads towards the business side, the art side,
Yeah.
talent is talent.
Yeah.
Believe me, I wish I had more of a business sense.
Well, thank you for everything. And I hope that everyone joins us next time for another topic from the Messy Middle. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for taking time with us in the messy middle. Word of mouth remains the most powerful way for people to find us. If this episode sparked something for you, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the podcast on your favorite app, download a few episodes, and share it with someone else who's navigating the in between. Do you have ideas for future episodes or topics you'd like us to explore? You can find our feedback form at themessymiddlematters.com or in the show notes. Thank you for joining us on this journey. This work is better when we do it together. Until next time.